Hi, I'm Bernice, and this is a video on CSS, the Cascading Style Sheets. We're reviewing the content that we just went over in the recent videos on HTML and CSS. Last week we did HTML. This week we're reviewing CSS. And so CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It is used to give style to the HTML document. So the HTML document gives the content and the structure, and then their CSS is used to style it, and it is using with key value pairs. And you make rules, and then with these key value pairs to change the style of the page. And they are simple and a powerful method for allowing to render information to the HTML documents. And it's used to style the web pages by setting different properties such as background color, font size, font family, and more. So there's a set of rules that define the styles for the web page, and you make these up. Otherwise, it's just a very basic page. The style is composed of selectors and declarations. So an example of a selector can be the element such as H3, and then we can give H3, we can change some of the things we could change our font family, font style, and the color. So we're going to set the font family to Arial, the font style to italic, and the color to red. The box model, the CSS box model, it's used to determine how the web page is rendered by the browser. So for each element on the page, you can use CSS to apply different properties to define where and how that element appears. You could set the margin for it, the border, and the padding. So each box has four parts. There's the margin, the border, the padding, and the content. And the margin is the outermost. And then you have the border and the padding, and at the center is the content. And so margin, sometimes you need to get this to look right, and you may need to check to see what is included in the margin. It's the space between the border and the margin. It's useful to separate the elements from its neighbors, and the dimensions are given by the margin box width and the margin box height. The border, it's the area between the box padding and the margin, and its dimensions are given by the width and height of the border. The padding, it is space around the content and within the border box, and its dimensions are given by the width of the padding box and the height of the padding box. And the content, it consists of the content such as text, image, or other media content, and it's bounded by the content edge, and its dimensions are given by the content box width and height. Types of CSS. There are three types of CSS: inline CSS, internal or embedded CSS, and external CSS. Inline CSS contains the CSS property in the body section attached with the element. So in the HTML document, in this example, so we're giving the inside the body here, we have the paragraph. We're setting the style. We're going to set the color and the font size right there within the element itself. So we have the opening P tag. Inside that P tag, we're setting the style, and then it's going to set that, and then we have the content, and then we have the closing tag. Internal or embedded CSS, this can be used when a single HTML document must be styled uniquely. The CSS rule set should be within the HTML file in the head section. So this is at the top of you have the doc type, that is just letting the browser know what type of document it is, and this is an HTML5 document. Then we have the HTML that is the root element, and it is inside that we have the head. And actually, this example, this should really be indented a couple spaces. You always want to do 2 spaces of indentation at each level. So then inside head, we have the title. We're giving the title to it, and we are styling it right here with the style. And then this is what we're going to, this style example is going to style dot main h1 and dot greeting are those style elements. So these are the rules that we're setting up for this external CSS. It contains it's a separate CSS file, and it's only contains only style properties with the help of tag attributes. So where you're going to have a separate file, you're going to link it at the beginning of your in the head section. You'll provide a link to the CSS style sheet, and then inside that file, it's a separate file, you would have your rules there. External CSS, we have HTML file that makes use of the external style sheet, and it can be achieved using the link tag. And it has the rel and href attributes. The rel specifies the relationship between the current document and the linked document. And in this case, rel is going to be a style sheet because we're adding the external style sheet to the HTML document. And the href attribute is used to specify the location of the external style sheet file. So this is another example of the external CSS. You see, this is just part of a screenshot. So in the head, we have the HTML tag in the head section. We're going to link with the rel the style sheet, and the href is going to give the name of it. And if it was in a different location, we would have to include the location. And then this is the style sheet itself. And then this is the different rules that we're applying to it. So the class is main. So dot main is the class here, and the class high, this is dot high. That's how to give a rule for a class is with the period, the dot, and then you have the curly braces, and inside those, and again, this is not the correct way to the formatting of the text for it, and I will have to show another example in a later video of what it should look like. This is just an example. CSS properties. There are a number of CSS properties that you can use to style your web page. We'll discuss some of the CSS properties such as border, padding, margin, display, position, color, and text align. So the border property, these are some of there's border width, border style, and border color. And then there's different values we can use, the usage, and an example of that. This is for styling the border. And there's the padding property. So then the padding property allows you to set the padding area for an element that separates its border from its content. That can take 1, 2, 3, or 4 values separated by white space is listed in the table. And let's see, depending on the list of property values, the HTML element has the padding area on the top, bottom, right, or left. And the padding property is shorthand for the padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left. The display property, you can use the values block, inline, or none. So block behaves like block level elements. So we can give, like this example is setting the anchor element with the display of block. Inline behaves like an inline element. So you can have here, we're setting the unordered list item display inline, and none element doesn't generate the boxes. So H1 display none is an example. The CSS position property, the position property defines how an element will be arranged on a page. The syntax for the position property is you have the selector, and then in the curly braces, the position and the values. So the property values, some are static, relative, absolute, fixed, and inherit. The CSS position property, static is the element box is arranged automatically, consistent with the normal flow. Relative element's box position is relative to its normal flow position. You can adjust the normal flow position by using the top, bottom, left, and right properties. And absolute, the element's box arranged to absolute position with reference to its containing block. So its containing block is that the nearest ancestor element that has its position property set to relative, absolute, or fixed. The top, right, bottom, and left properties are used to set the offset of the element's box with reference to its containing block. CSS position property fixed, the element's box position is offset from its browser window by using the top, right, bottom, and left properties. The element's box won't move when the browser window is scrolled. Inherit, the inherit keyword is employed to specify that the value for this property should be taken from the parent element. If inherit is used with the root element, then the initial value for this property is going to be used. CSS color property, the color property is used to specify the foreground color of text. The color property are 5 different color notation types. For the anchor element, we're specifying the color as red, and div, we're using a different notation there on H1 div, and then the ID one. The number sign is for the ID selector. And then, so that's different ways that you can specify colors. CSS text align property. The text align property is used to align the content inside the element. The text inside the element can be aligned in 4 ways: left, right, center, and justify. Thank you, and I wish you a great day.